The type of attention you get and who you get it from determines where we end up in life.
We are we got.
This has already been accepted at the University of Texas in Austin, electrical
In a
engineering.
community where the statistics aren't the best, the default isn't the best either.
The gentleman who's going to be on the field representing South San,
Defensive captain of the varsity football team.
Mr. Jesus
Giving
Rendon.
his life to giving back to this community.
St. Joseph's Catholic Church Choir.
So I decided to start a nonprofit called Building a Purpose.
And if we can raise that default to be something of higher standards,
Help students find their purpose in life.
I think we can do something
We all we need.
special
Our
by
next
default.
guest here is a gentleman who I've known for more than half my life and probably over 20 plus years now, and is somebody who I admire greatly. A hometown hero, somebody who's known me and my wife since we were kids, a educator at heart, a Vietnam veteran, a South San Antonio graduate, and the founding board president for our nonprofit Building a Purpose, Mr. Juan Elias. So thank you, Mr. Elias,
Yes.
for coming on.
Yes, Jesus, thank you for having me. I'm really excited because it's always a pleasure talking with you. Ever since I've known you, I mean, you were quite a character. Still are. But yes, no, it's a pleasure to be here. And as you said, I've known you for quite a while, and that's it's been a real pleasure always being around you.
Thank you. And just gonna go through the flow of all of it, and again, the purpose of the podcast is to talk about life, purpose, and God. And so we'll see where that takes us. How's life?
Life at this point for me is awesome. I would like to say. I mean, I can say it because I'll be 75 years old this year, and I'm still very active. I try to stay busy, even though I've been retired for 10 years. I'm still working, and I'm working just everything I can get into. Yes, everything I can get into, and that's a lot sometimes. But no, it's been great. My wife and I are still very much in love. You know, I mean,
How many years have y'all been married now?
41 years.
41 years.
Yes.
Jeez, I remember. Actually, I feel like I've known Miss Elias longer because she's, even though she wasn't my teacher, she was a teacher at Kindred Elementary in kindergarten, and I still remember her back when I was 4 or 5 years old.
It's funny you should say that because that's where I met her. That's where I met her, and I haven't let her go ever since.
Yeah,
I've never let her go.
So how did you meet her? PTA or what was it?
No, actually, I had 3 children from a previous marriage, and I was divorced, and my son was actually in her class, and I didn't get to know her until after he'd been there for a few months. I was too busy working, trying to make a living. So one day, my son, and he'll take the credit for bringing us together, okay? He'll take the credit every time. But anyway, he came home one day and said, "Dad, you got to come. The teacher wants to talk to you." So I said, "Well, I work till, such and such. I get home late." He said, "Well, she has to talk to you. She wants you to go and see her." I said, "Okay, well, I'll get off work early the next day, tomorrow." So I did that, and I sent her a note. I'll be there right after school. And we talk about it now. We laugh because she was a little scared because it was nothing more than Texas Public School Week, and she wanted to meet the parents and parents visiting because she had never really, she'd never met me. And so I went there the next day, and I asked her what's going on, or why did you need to talk to me? And she said, "Oh, no, I'm sorry. It was just because of Texas Public School Week." And so she was a little worried, and she said, "Let's go to the class, and I'll show you some of the things that the kids are doing." So we went to the class, and at this point, I was smitten. I was smitten. So she started explaining to me everything that the kids do and such, and I don't know what she said because I was just looking at her because she was so beautiful, and so I still don't know what she said, but
Did you ask her out on a date, or
Actually,
you waited a little bit? And
I was scared to that first time, but the second time I made an excuse to go see her. I don't know what it was, because it was just an excuse. And that's when I got up the nerve to ask her to go out just for, a cup of coffee or something.
This is very, very no pressure, like just type of.
Yeah, just something casual.
Okay.
And we went out that weekend, and she's been with me ever since, basically, because I wanted to ask her to marry me the first time I was married, but she kept thinking I was crazy. But she is definitely my partner in life.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yeah, the yin to your yang. And so she was a teacher before you were a teacher, right?
Yes. Yeah. In fact, she did after we were married. I was a teacher aide and she was a teacher, because it took about 18 months exactly to get her to marry me.
18 months.
And that was too long for me. But anyway, 10 years after we were married, she sent me off to college, and full time.
Mm-hmm.
And she held down the fort. She definitely wanted me to, she saw something in me.
Mm-hmm.
And she wanted me to go and get a career. And because at that point I was just working, I think it was Parks and Recreation, going nowhere.
Mm-hmm.
So she
right there. It was right there off of
Miller's
Pond, right? Yeah,
Miller's Pond, right down the street from the church I go to
mm-hmm.
now.
And you were a coach there too, right?
Yes, yes. So she put me through school, and I give God and her all the credit, because without me getting the degree, I wouldn't have had the life, the experiences, and certainly the ability to have a better life
mm-hmm.
with her.
Right.
Yes.
What a blessing. So your son's name is Juan as well, right?
Yes.
So I'll say little Juan, Juanito.
Yes, that's what we call him.
He takes the credit for introducing you. And so did he start acting up more so you could go and see Miss Elias more often?
Well,
was he a good kid?
I wanted him to, but I don't know. He was actually, I'm not going to say a good student, but he was. My wife fell in love with him first before she fell in love with me, because he was so cute, and I mean, he still had a North Carolina accent, which is where we were before.
Southern accent.
Yes, and she got a kick out of that. So she basically, fell in love with him, and so when she met me, I don't know if that helped, but apparently it might have, because I'm here and
she's like,
she's my wife.
Why doesn't he have an accent? He sounds like he's from Mexico.
No, I was a Texican before.
Texican, yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
So if when you met her, how did you describe yourself? Who are you?
Well, I'm really glad you asked that question, because my success in life, really, first, of course, to God and my mom that raised me in a good way, I'd like to think. But she's the one that came in and finished the job of making me become the person that I could be. And so, but when I met her, I was working at a place called K.O. Steel, which is a lot of manual hard labor with steel castings and such. So I would grind castings, on the big grinders to try and smooth them out and stuff after they got poured. So it was kind of hard labor,
right? And
I wasn't getting paid much as well. So, and it was hard hours. So basically, I was just a labor. Even though I had graduated from college and I was a veteran, Marine veteran, I still obviously hadn't reached anywhere close to my potential at that time. But I also I feel like I wasn't very confident. I had some hard, times in my life and here and there. So she kind of saw something in me. She always calls me she used to call me her diamond in the rough and that was just to herself, because she felt that I could be so much more.
Mm-hmm.
So that was basically a challenge for her, because I was a little hard-headed back then and I didn't want to go back to school. But once I did, I felt like I couldn't fail. I had to show her that, I was going to be successful.
Right.
So I did it.
So where are you from originally? I know you're a Bobcat at heart no matter where you go, but
Yes. Actually, I was born in Nuevo Laredo. So my parents had been born here in Texas, but at one point, as youngsters, they went back to Mexico. Apparently, the government wanted to give their citizens some land to lure them back after the revolution. So they went back and they started life, of course, parallel lives.
Mm-hmm.
My mom and dad. So they met, settled in, and had a small family there in Nuevo Laredo. So there was a lot of things that happened that obviously were a lot of hardships. There was no future for most people, and certainly us. We had nothing except just, I guess basically what my father could earn. So she...
what did your parents do?
My mom took care of us,
mm-hmm.
and my dad worked in a steel foundry in Laredo, Texas. But before that, they met working in the fields.
Really?
They would hitch a bus ride somewhere, here and there, wherever the fields were needing to be harvested. So they worked in whatever they could, and mainly in that type of work growing up. And so when they got married, my dad got a job and my mom stayed home. And like I said, things were hard. And I think what made my mother decide, and this is something that's kind of difficult for me to say, but to talk about, but I think what made my mother decide for us to get out of Dodge, as they say,
mm-hmm.
and come to the United States, since they were citizens, both my mom and dad, even though we weren't, she decided, I believe it was after my younger brother passed away. He contracted pneumonia. He was about 1 year old. He contracted pneumonia. And at that time, pneumonia was almost a death sentence for most children. They were so small and weak. And with our situation, we had not too many means to take care of, to take babies to the doctor, hospital, whatever. So my mother did her best to try and care for him.
Right.
And she did give him medicine here and there, but it was about all she could do, as much as she could afford here and there. And so eventually, the baby passed away. And that was one of the hardest things that I've seen my parents go through. Even though I was like 2.5, maybe not quite 3 years old, I still remember that because that showed me what death was. That showed me what suffering,
mm-hmm.
hardship, desperation. It showed me so much emotion at my young age that I believe it changed my life.
Right.
It taught me that life is not, it's very precious, and certainly it's very fragile.
Mm-hmm.
So death came to our family that day, and we struggled. And
so it was, you got 2 older brothers?
I got 2 older brothers. I'm the third. And Pedro Luis, that's the name of my younger brother, passed away.
You have a sister.
And I have a sister.
Who also passed away.
No, the younger one did.
The younger
I have
one,
a much younger one that passed away, but this one was she was born right after Pedro Luis. So she was also born in Mexico, Nuevo Laredo. So she, the 4 of us.
That's when my mother.
Yes,
and Javier was born over here.
Yes. Everybody.
He's the baby.
Yeah, he's a baby boy.
The baby boy.
My sister Irma, who passed away, she was a baby girl.
Ah.
So, but yeah, after my sister was born, because I believe my mother was already pregnant with her when Pedro Luis passed away. So after she was born and was safe for her to travel, that's when my mother decided, I'm going to take my family to United States, San Antonio, and start a life because...
Did you have family over here?
Yes. My mother had an older sister. Mi tia Marta, she took us in for a while. Of course, she had 4 kids of her own. So it was in a small house. Eventually, we moved to...
Where was the house?
It was actually in Crystal Street, right there by the Harlandale district area. Crystal Street, which is between Division and South Cross.
Okay.
It's not too far from here, actually.
Right. Down the street, yeah.
So Crystal Street, and then after that, we kind of didn't fit there anymore. So my grandfather took us in. He lived a street over, and that was hard as well. It was tough. Jobs were very hard to find, and my grandfather and my dad were, they'd have a hard time finding jobs and barely keeping us.
So your grandfather, this was your mom's dad or your dad's
My
dad?
mom's dad, yes. My mom's dad, yeah. Bartolo.
Really?
Yeah.
That was my great-great-grandfather's name too, Bartolo.
Bartolo,
Wow.
yeah.
And so your parents were born probably in the 20s or 30s?
Actually, yes. My dad was born in 1923, and my mom was born in 1929.
29.
Yes.
Okay, and then so her dad was born probably right at the turn of the century?
Yes, about 1909.
1909. World War I area?
Just before, yeah. Like I said, that was when there was a lot of conflict in Mexico. So there was a lot of movement back then because of that. Because, excuse me just a minute. I think I'm talking more than I've intended to.
We got plenty of water. We got plenty of other stuff to drink too.
But no, so there was a lot of movement back then. Of course, if you know Mexican history, mainly the poor people, the people that just needed to make a living, would go back and forth from the borders, depending on where they felt safe and where they could find work. And that was where my grandparents got caught up in that situation, which explains why my mom and dad were born here.
Right.
In fact, both sets of my grandparents were basically also living parallel lives.
Were your grandparents born here or born?
See, I'm not even sure. I think they were born in Mexico. Yes, I think both sets were. Yeah.
Okay. And so after y'all lived in the Harlandale district, y'all moved into the South San district. Is that how you went to? What elementary, middle school, and high school did you go to?
We when we moved over here, I have to tell you a story. Okay, first grade, first day. It's funny because as a child, it makes sense, but as an adult, it doesn't make sense. But I still remember when I was gonna start first grade. My dad was working that day, and my grandfather was going to take me. Collier Middle School, Collier Elementary, right across from Leal, which used to be South Cross Middle School, junior high. So anyway.
Oh, Leal used to be South Cross Junior High?
Yes.
Really?
Yes.
Wow.
When I went there, that was my junior high before I went over to South San. But I get ahead of myself here. The situation was, I was going to be taken to school by my grandfather, and you hear all these stories about you can't speak Spanish, you'd get in trouble, and I knew nothing about English. All I knew was Spanish, so I was scared. So when I got dropped off, my grandfather was about to leave me after he registered me, and I grabbed onto his pant leg. I was crying and screaming, man, like nobody's business. So he he had to pull me away. And my teacher, Miss Garcia, and I'll tell you something else about her in a little while, but Miss Garcia kept pulling me away and said, "Come on, Juanito, I got candy for you in the room. I got candy for you in the room." And I was still crying, man. It caught my attention, but I still didn't want to go. I mean, I was scared.
Mm-hmm.
So she eventually pulled me away and took me to the room. And I stopped crying right then and there. One reason I couldn't cry in English, so I wasn't going to cry in Spanish. That was my mentality. I was scared to cry because I didn't know how to cry in English.
That's what you're thinking. Yeah.
Yes. As a 6-year-old, that's all you know. So I decided to just suck it up and go to the classroom. And then she sat me down and she told me to sit there, and she gave me something to play with or whatever. And then she continued her class because the teacher came to pick me up from the office. She heard about all the ruckus I was making, so she decided to come get me. So when she got me there, she sat me down and left me there. And she went on with her class or lessons or whatever she was doing. And I kept thinking and looking around. I said, "Where's my candy?" This lady promised me candy if I came with her, and I don't see any candy, and I never got that candy. But
do you remember her name?
Her name, yeah, Miss Garcia. Miss Garcia. I didn't know her first name, but so anyway, I think back about how she appeared, how she looked, and what I remember of her. And do you know, and it's so weird because when I met my wife, it was almost like seeing Miss Garcia again, dressed almost alike with the long, beautiful skirt, the pretty blouse, the hair made up real pretty. I mean, that's how I remember Miss Garcia. Mm-hmm. And when I met my wife, that's what she looked like. And I didn't even realize it until later on when I thought of it. I said, wait a minute. I'm marrying my first grade teacher.
It's a safe place, right? She kind of.
Yes.
Did Miss Elias ever give you the candy?
Well, she gave my kids candy.
Yeah, that's good.
And that was a good thing. But
at least she followed through.
Yeah, she did. Not for me, but for my kids. No, but Miss.
That's being married, right?
Yeah. Yes. No, Miss. In fact. Don't forget Valentine's Day tomorrow.
I know.
You're on the spot.
Actually, I'm going to the ranch. I know she's going to be. We'll probably have breakfast, though.
You better do something.
I got her a little something.
Yeah, good. Good for you.
Yeah, I got her something just like that. It doesn't look very Valentine's Day.
Oh, it's very romantic.
Right, yeah.
So, it's amazing how life works. It's like it seems to repeat itself here and there without you even realizing it.
Right.
So, but that's so. Anyway, yeah.
Beautiful story, though. I mean, Miss Garcia, huh?
Miss Garcia, and I was going to say also that she was so kind to me because she saw that we
felt vulnerable.
Yeah, but I was. She could see that we didn't have the means for a lot of things. So she always put me in the front of the line when she was going to give a candy. Actually, now that I think of it, Easter came around and she had a whole decked it out with candies in little boxes and stuff. She gave me a little basket made of paper and she said, "You go first." And I went first, man. And I was scared to pick too many candies. I think I got 3 or 4. But there was a lot of candies that she had laid out for us, and she wanted me to go first. I guess she felt bad about not giving me the candy
that one time.
Yes. So no, I did go to Collier at the beginning. Then from there we moved, and I went to Columbia Heights Elementary down the street almost, and then I went to Stonewall. Stonewall was really where I kind of started, I guess. Opening my eyes.
Is that next to Our Lady of the Angels, Stonewall?
Yes, okay. Down the street from there, yes. Closer to the 35.
Okay.
Yeah. But, it was an experience for me because I went to 5th and 6th grade there. And up until that point, I had nothing but women teachers. And
I noticed that too.
elementaries.
Yeah, all women until like 5th or 6th grade.
Yes. Well,
Isn't that something?
yeah, that's and I think it's a good thing because I think children that age need nurturing from women more than they do with men.
Sure.
And so I'm thinking it's a good thing, and I'm glad that a lot of the lady teachers, women teachers, teach in the elementary because I think it helps the kids a whole lot.
Right.
So Stonewall Elementary, 5th grade, Mr. Ballesteros. I remember he was in the Navy. He was big in the Navy. He was Navy Reserves. But he was a real good role model for me. And he was really a good guy, a good guy. He taught us a lot. I mean, at that point, I was eager to learn because maybe it was because he was a male teacher and I could connect with him somehow.
Relate.
So he was a good teacher. In fact, he had us memorize the states and then how to spell them. And then he gave us a contest. Out of the blue, just write on all the states, make sure they're correct. And I won first place on that one. I know my geography, and I know, and that was what hooked me to geography and learning,
When did you start learning English?
It was late 1st grade. I was picking it up.
In Miss Garcia's class?
Miss Garcia's class, because she worked really hard with me. And it was difficult for me because I had no clue of what was going on. So 2nd grade, I started picking it up a little bit more. Well, 2nd grade was when I first got my first spanking.
Ooh.
Yeah, it's
Who did it?
I didn't deserve it.
No?
No, but
That's what they all say.
this was Miss Kama's. Miss Kama,
Kama's?
I think, yeah. 2nd grade in Collier. We were having some kind of an outdoor activity and we're playing softball. So I was, I didn't know much, but I was doing what everybody else was doing. So I was up at bat, and everybody was rooting for me because I was a little guy. I was real small. So the ball came at me, and I whacked it. I'm talking hard, and there goes the ball, and I threw the bat behind me, and I started hauling down to the baseline. Base. So I went all around. Everybody was rooting for me, and I made a home run.
Ran all the bases.
Infield home run, basically. And I got to home, scoring, of course, a run, and Miss Kamas grabbed me from the arm. And she started saying something. I didn't know what. She was upset. Then she pointed down at this little boy that was passed out behind home plate. And
The catcher?
The catcher. I didn't know we had a catcher when I swung that bat behind me.
Yeah.
So there was a kid laid out, and obviously she thought I did it intentionally. But I mean, I didn't know how to play
Baseball,
softball. I just whacked the ball and let the bat go, and I didn't know that guy was behind me. So anyway, after they picked him up and took him to the nurse, she took me in the room. She left somebody else in charge, and she gave me 3 whacks. Because it didn't hurt. I mean, she was like 98 years old, I think. She was old. I mean, she was old, but yeah, she tried to hit me. And but, and then there was the 3 other guys that had been laughing up a storm at that boy, that was knocked out. And she took him in there too. And they got a spanking, but they were laughing the whole time. Man. They were, the bad boys. You could always see what they were gonna be.
Right, they're gonna turn out.
Yeah. So it was my first experience with corporal punishment in the school system.
It was your first experience. Was it your last?
Oh no. Yeah, that was South Cross Junior High.
It got worse.
Yeah.
I was gonna say I've got my Mr. Sanchez, when he was at Royal Gate, he almost battled me because I had a food fight. And then I forget her name, but it was when Mr. Fonseca was at Kindred, the VP. She was scary. I don't remember. Her too. It was real close for her giving me. Mr. Fonseca made me call my dad, and thank God he didn't answer when I called.
Was it Miss Buchanan?
I don't think it was Miss Buchanan. Okay. Miss Buchanan, who just retired from Carrillo?
I believe so, yes.
No. I would have remembered Miss Buchanan, but she was young at the time. I mean, she was younger than Mr. Fonseca. But yeah, no. So I also have a little bit of familiarity.
Yeah, well, I'm sure. Yeah.
Corporal punishment.
But yeah, going back to Stonewall, Mr. Ballesteros, and then of course, 6th grade I had Mr. Nunez. Now, Mr. Nunez, they both actually came over to South San when I was in school there still.
Really?
Well, Mr. Ballesteros was vice principal at South San when I graduated from there. And Mr. Nunez became the principal at Olivares, I believe, Mr. Nunez. He was actually a principal at Dwight as well.
Mr. Nunez.
For a long time.
So before Mr. Fonseca was...
Oh, yes, way before, about maybe 10 years before that. So, anyway, Mr. Nunez, he was an awesome teacher also. Also, very, very direct, but, you knew he was, demanding that you worked.
Right.
And it's funny because those two gentlemen had so much influence in me. I didn't realize it until I became a teacher. Because when I became a teacher, and I came across a situation with one of my students that I wasn't sure how to handle, I would always refer back to Mr. Ballesteros or Mr. Nunez. What would they do? What would they do?
Right.
And I thought long and hard, and I believe that kept me in check. And they became my mentors even without me realizing it. At the time, they were just my teachers. But later on in life, they were still in my brain, and they still basically mentored me. So I wish I would have had time to thank them.
Right.
Of course, that's hindsight, But yeah, it's like I said, amazing how things work out at times.
So you went to South San your freshman year, or did you go to Dwight Junior High?
I actually started at junior high after South Cross. After Stonewall, I went for one semester to South Cross as a 7th grader, and they found out we were living in South San District at that point. So
they kicked you out.
They kicked us out of the Harlandale District, and
that's what happened to me at Kindred. I told Mr. Fonseca I was living. I don't know what I was thinking. My mom was mad, and so we moved to Palo Alto after that.
Oh, okay.
So you were living. So at that point, was South Cross still called South Cross over here, or was it called Main Street on this side?
It was actually called Dwight, I believe.
Dwight Street.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, Dwight Street, and at the curb, it changed over to South Cross.
Okay. Because I know it used to be called Main Street.
It could have been before
right
Dwight.
Here.
Yeah, before it was called Dwight, it could have been Main.
Or maybe on Dwight, that was always called Dwight, but just that main part there was.
Yeah, that little main strip, because that was like a little town community.
Yeah, downtown.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so yeah, we moved to South Cross at the beginning of that year of when we went to South Cross Junior High. My mom and dad bought a house there on South Cross, across from Colonial Auto Parts, and so they found out we lived there, so they kicked us out, and I started going 7th grade at Dwight, the second semester of my 7th grade, and that's where I met my lifelong friends, at least one of them that I still hang out with sometimes. Juan Gonzalez, he was...
You're tocayos.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, we shared lockers.
Yeah, you did too.
Yeah, we shared lockers, and he kind of took me around, and...
Did you play sports at Dwight?
Yeah, football. Yeah, football, and it wasn't much back then for me because I was little. But I was out there getting pounced anyway.
What year was this?
Mainly practice, 1964, 65. Yeah.
65.
Because, and so we, it was a lot of good kids coming through there. A lot of good kids. Because back then, Dwight was called South San Junior High. And so we were the only middle school, the only junior high that fed into South San. at the time. And that was even before West Campus and Shepherd and all those.
All of them.
Everybody commuted to South San. So it was a lot of change back then, a lot of things going on. But all we did was go to school and did what we had to do.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of politics even back then.
Are there any teachers there that are still alive that you know?
That I know of, no. I remember that one of my teachers actually was still teaching when I became a teacher. And I remember I went to visit her. Her name was Miss Bevins. I went to visit her.
Miss Bevins?
Bevins.
At
She was a
Dwight.
shepherd. No, she was a shepherd.
Oh, she was at
She was a shepherd. But I did go to visit her, and I took her a little flower. I said, Miss Bevins, I still remember you.
Wow.
And you were a good teacher, and I appreciate what you did. So, because to me, that was an honor to be working in the same district as one of my teachers.
Mm-hmm.
Nowadays, it's more common than it used to be, I guess. But for me, it was
special.
Yes, it was.
She must have been around for a while.
Yeah, she was. Well, she was young when she was
When
teaching.
she started.
Yeah. So anyway, that's and I graduated from South San, and we were actually the last group, the last class, 1969, the last class to graduate on the field of the high school there at Dwight.
Oh, you had your graduations on the field.
Yes. So, there was a lot of memories out there when I was out there coaching middle school football.
So you graduated on the field at Dwight?
Yes, because that was the main football field for South San. Even though
the
they
one
had
right
moved.
here.
Yes.
Just right on. Wow.
Even though the high school had already moved over there to Navajo.
They still played football.
Yeah, because they hadn't built the stadium over there yet. So they had to play the games there at Dwight.
Mm.
So, yeah, when I was coaching out there at that field sometime, wow, I can't believe so much history
that's
here.
a full circle right
Yeah,
there.
it's history right there. Yeah.
Where did they play baseball?
Right behind there
At Athens?
at Athens, yes. That field,
It's field that's still there. They played there.
Yes, that's where they played varsity baseball. Yeah.
Wow.
Mm-hmm. So it was, like I said, South San, even though we weren't that big, we still, made our presence known.
Mm-hmm.
Basketball and football. So it was fun years, really fun years. So I still get together with a lot of my classmates.
Mm-hmm.
They're able to, for breakfast at Don Pedro's every month. So we're tired of telling the whole story, the same old stories about breakfast.
Yeah.
Yeah, sometimes we talk about doctor visits and such, how old people are. So it's,
my arthritis or whatever.
So it was. We once I graduated, I went to San Antonio College for one semester, and you know where that is, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So it was a pretty good school back then. Still is, but I went for the one semester right after high school, and I got restless, man. I just, there's too many demonstrations. 1969 was in fact, they made a movie about that year. 1969.
Yeah, it was a great year for muscle cars and crazy year for everything else.
Yeah. Yeah, that was actually when society was changing.
Yeah.
Yeah, the protests and the
against the war.
The hippies.
Mm-hmm.
There was a lot of changes coming with the 60s and the turmoil, that was going on. Vietnam was part of it, but it was just society was changing, and you could see it happening. And that's when I decided that at the end of that semester, I joined the Marine Corps because, believe it or not, I felt like if I don't join, I feel I'm gonna miss something. I want to be part of this, and I don't want to be a hippie part,
Mm-hmm.
I want to do something that I feel is honorable.
Right.
And my two older brothers being in already, that kind of made me decide.
Right, to get all three of you guys.
Yeah. Well, we
had come a long way from the migrant fields, the pictures of you in those fields, and then all the way to all three of y'all Marines.
Yes. And two younger brothers, Javier, of course, being one of them, Luis and Javier, they were in the Navy, and they made it a career. They became Navy chiefs.
Oh, wow.
It's supposed to be a big deal in the Navy. I don't know. It's just the Navy.
Navy chief, yeah, like
yeah,
what is that, like an E8 or E9, something high up there, like big deal.
Something fun. But yeah, you should see us get together when it's the 5 of us, 3 Marines and 2 sailors. They don't stand a chance. Especially since we're older than they are.
Yeah.
So it's fun times.
That's awesome. So when Bay of the Pigs and Kennedy got shot, do you remember all those things?
I don't remember. I don't remember quite much about the Bay of Pigs because I know there was conflict going on in Cuba. Because I was like in 6th grade or something like that. I don't know. But I do remember when Kennedy got shot. In fact, when he got inaugurated, I remember my teacher in Columbia Heights, she dragged this big old TV, weighed about a ton, right? She had a bunch of us carried in. That was a portable TV, by the way. I mean, it was big box thing, right?
Well, I remember the big TVs when I was young, but I'm sure they were even bigger for when you were there.
This one was like a, I don't know, 3 by 3 by 3 box.
Oh, wow.
And it had a picture tube, maybe about 12-inch. So in black and white.
You're talking a TV that's like this, but still massive.
Yeah. It was just a massive thing, and she dragged it into the classroom, and with our help, and she turned it on to Kennedy being inaugurated, the only time, and we watched the whole thing all day long. We're sitting there watching it. Somehow she knew we were watching history. She wanted us to have that exposure. And I think, some of the things that I did in my classroom, I kind of, again, I look back to my former teachers and find out, to realize this is the way you teach, because I got a lot out of that. So it was real nice to sit there, even though I didn't realize the importance of watching Kennedy being sworn in at the time. I watched it, and now I'm grateful for it. So it was a historical event, and I watched him say his speech, his inaugural speech, which is still, you can
history.
find it everywhere.
I've heard it as well, but
yes, and I'm not sure if that was it, but I know that the one that always stands out to me was, ask not what your country can do for you, but ask what you can do for your country.
Right.
And to me, that spoke volumes, and I think it stuck in my head, because that's when I was debating whether I should continue college or go serve and join the Marine Corps. I felt the pull to serve my country, to not take but go give.
Yeah.
And that's how I made my decision, I guess. And then, of course, 3 years later, he passed away. I was in South Cross Junior High, in fact.
Really?
When the teacher next door came over to our teacher, did you hear that Kennedy got shot? And bam, everybody was like, oh, and the day before that, they had dismissed school early so we could watch him. He went to Brooks Air Base, and he landed in Kelly, I think. I'm not sure what the situation was, but he drove by Military Drive, and you should have seen that place was like a parade route. People just loved that man. They wanted to see him. And they let school out early. He was going to drive through the afternoon. And so they, I think most of the districts let out
kids
school
out to go
at noon.
See him drive in his
limousine. He went in the limousine. Yeah. No top or anything.
And that was the day before, right? Because they were in San Antonio, and then the next day was in Dallas.
Yeah, he actually was driving to Cali to fly over to Dallas. And then he was going to come back the next day, but he never did. So he was
Jeez, man.
And I got to see him.
You saw it? You saw
him?
it?
Yes. Oh, yeah. My brother and I went over, and one of the things, and it's
Did your
really
mom took you, or did you
no,
go with the
my
teacher,
brother
the
and I
parents?
just
Y'all
walked
just
over.
took off.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I guess you're
He's
living
not
right
too
there on
far.
Stonewall. Just walk right out.
No,
right
we were
over.
living in South Cross at the time.
South Cross
no,
and-
I'm sorry, Somerset.
on Somerset.
We
Oh,
living in
okay.
Somerset at the
So you
time.
saw him in military in Somerset.
Yeah. Well, actually, my brother could drive already, so
Mm.
I think he drove us close by and walked over there. But so we one thing I remember, and this is something that sometimes things stick to your vision, I guess, your brain. That as he was driving by, it was a beautiful day, sunny and kind of cool. In November, I think 22nd, I'm not sure, but you could see as he was driving, waving, very charismatic. People were cheering as he went by. He was waving and smiling, and all I remember was seeing his hair. It was like a deep, dark red hair, like an Irish red, like a lot of the Irish red hair, and just very full head of hair. And it was flying, the wind was catching it, and it looked so sparkly, like so, I don't know. It looked good, for a man that's president. I mean, he was a handsome man by all accounts, but he was also very charismatic. And when I saw him driving by and all I saw was his hair waving, I said, man, this guy's got it going on. Of course, his beautiful wife Jackie next to him. So who would have known that the next day it would have been over?
Jeez.
Yeah.
So his hair looked red, like because the sun,
yes, but the sun glistened it. I guess
he wasn't a redhead, was he?
Yeah, he was.
Oh, he was.
Yeah, you could tell because he was so dark. That's what I'm saying. He was dark red. Like I don't know what color red you'd call that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, to be honest, I don't know if I've ever seen. I guess I've always only ever seen him in like black and white pictures and stuff. So
no, even in color pictures, sometimes it looks black,
Uh-huh.
but it's almost like an amber dark red.
Dark red.
Yeah, not amber, but just a dark red.
Right. Wow. So all the way down military. Yeah, I had no idea Kennedy had traveled down military from, makes sense, from Brooks when it was open to Kelly when it was open all the way down, and I guess turning on Quintana or Bynum.
No, I think it was
Straight down.
Gate 2 Street up there.
Okay.
At the
right
hill.
there on the hill.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So, but it was those were historical days back then.
Yeah. Well, I'm sure. Like you said, school would let out to the president.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. So.
When's the last time a president's done something like that?
Yeah. That's why everybody loved him so much. He was very, I don't know, he made himself available.
Yeah. The only thing that comes to mind is when I know Bill Clinton came and did a speech at South San and the Durbin Dome.
Oh yeah, I remember after
15 years ago or maybe 10 years ago.
Yeah, when he was no longer president.
He
right?
wasn't
right
president.
after he got out.
Yeah, he was already out.
Yes.
But I can't ever remember a president coming to San Antonio doing something like that.
Yeah, well, we don't get much attention down here.
Right.
For whatever reason. You can only guess. We're small potatoes.
Yeah, small potatoes. So, what was your first memory of or recollection of when you met me, Mr. Elias?
Actually, I remember not necessarily meeting, but knowing you in the football practice field. I was coaching 8th graders, and you were a football player at 7th grader. I believe you had Coach Ramos and Coach Lopez. And I was coaching with Coach Cano. So you guys were a big team. I mean, bigger than our group at the time. And you were very athletic compared to our group. So whenever we'd go out there and scrimmage against each other, y'all always got the best of us most of the time, because I remember y'all could hit harder than our kids could. Our kids were not that aggressive, even though we try to upset them or, piss them off sometimes. They just didn't click. But we did the best we could with them. But you guys, I mean, you ran all over them. So, but, and I remember you were real quiet. I mean, you'd take care of business and you'd walk away. You just take care of business and you'd walk away. And so that was what I knew of you. And I did notice you out in the field. So at the end of 7th grade is when we invited you for the National Junior Honor Society. And you fill out your questionnaire and you had the grades. And so I was I had sponsor for the National Junior Honor Society. So I got to review all the applications. And I to me, at that point, you were just a number, although I still knew you a little bit more than some of the others. So we obviously picked you because you earned it. But it was until you started participating in the activities, the requirements of community service, and that was a big one for me because I thought, and I would tell you guys got to give back because you guys, National Junior Honor Society members, you guys are going to make it. I have no doubt. You're going to make it through college and you're going to make a career for yourselves. But that means that you have the responsibility of giving back. And that's what I'm going to lay on you. I mean, you need to give back to your community because you're going to be able to. But every community service event that I came up with, you were part of it. You volunteered for every one of them. And I saw that. You were the only one that I could see that was everywhere. You were looking for something to do. Maybe you want to get away from home, or I don't know, but you were looking for something to participate. So you stood out right there. And because I still have pictures where you were always involved. So I thought, well, he's serious. He knows that he has to do the, because it's required, but it was more than that. I think you were always willing to step up when others wouldn't, and that's when I started. You started standing out to me, and then of course Judith was around as well. So I don't know if you were wanting to go because she might be there, but hey, whatever the reason, you were there. So, but and of course we kept in touch. We kept in touch after that. For some reason, you felt you had to come and visit me. You felt like you needed to keep me informed as to how it was going for you. I remember you started doing some PowerPoints or videos because you were impressed by the videos I'd make. So you started exploring your abilities, and look at you now. Look at you now. There's nothing that you won't take on, and that's one of the things that I've always admired about you. And that maybe also, you want me as part of your life because maybe we kind of motivate each other, and so that it's a mutual thing. Yeah.
Thank you. I remember. Yeah, I remember seeing you as a coach, and because we were opposite, like you and Cano, the other ones, and Coach Ramos, and Ramos actually went to school with my mom and dad.
Okay.
And Ramos and Coach Lopez, I think, came our 8th grade year. I don't know if he was their 7th grade, but they were the younger guys, and you and Cano were the older guys.
Yes, we were the veterans.
And we did all the sports. Actually, my 7th grade year, I didn't play football. I played Pop Warner, but I did all the other sports. And I remember seeing you there, and actually I was scared. I remember being scared of you, and I still remember this to this day. You would always say when the kids we were nasty. Middle school when the jocks and athletes were disciplined, but just the hormones of all the kids in that age. I remember you always. Your saying was I don't play no games. Like that was your thing. We don't play no games here. We don't play no games. And said kids would get in line and not cut or throw their trash away or whatever it was in the hallways. And then you were our 8th grade our National Junior Honor Society sponsor. I remember we went to the Civic Center right down there. Is probably I kind of consider that like a date for Judith, but she's like, no, it wasn't. So it wasn't really a date. But, you know, it's a cool picture of us all just helping the elderly. There was also remember Blue Bonnet, that dance hall? Blue Bonnet, I remember we went there. Do you remember Ms. Ramos?
Oh, no, you talking about, I think I wasn't part of that. Ms. Ramos, it was some kind of the disability children. Yeah, she had 2 children with disabilities. And she was part of that group that you guys, I think
she asked National Honor people to go. And we supported. I remember going to that.
Yeah, y'all had a fun day.
Remember we went to Austin? I mean, kids going out. We went to the Capitol. We saw all the history there.
Mr. Tamez.
Yeah, you and Mr. Tamez. And and then come to find out, you and one of our uncles were good friends in high school too.
Yes.
And my dad knowing Javier and their shenanigans.
There was connections there between your family and mine. Yes.
For many years.
Yes.
And then and my sister actually, and I remember we although we weren't, I had Mr. Navarro for U.S. history.
Yes, 7th grade.
The irony in how I want to say that year it was like 100% passing the toss or the tax.
And, we were up there in the 90s.
And I mean, I think I got whatever the best score, exemplary or master. And I remember hearing you and Mr. Navarro joking or talking about, you know, it's so funny because none of us were born here. Mr. Navarro being born in Cuba and you being born in Mexico.
Yes.
Teaching U.S. history and we flew with flying colors. Just the irony of that was, I've always got a kick out of that. And it was cool because we used to go to your classroom, and I remember the way you would teach. Very visual, very scary in the hallways, right? You get to class, you know, transitioning was, we don't play no games. And but when we got to the class, it was like a different Mr. Elias, right? It was like,
down to business.
Actually, even though we're here to learn, I sat where you sat, and the picture you had up there in your office or in your classroom, and your story that. Also keep in mind, as you mentioned, I didn't have any male teachers. My kinder, first, second, third, fourth, and fifth grade were all female. So going to Dwight, that's something that I never really realized. But most Mr. Bushy, all the male teachers that I had really came from later in life. And so the way you would teach your class and connect with the students, me being there, it almost felt like, you know, the teachers were the most successful people we really knew, right? More successful than our parents, right?
Yeah, at that point,
in their career. So I think having that connection, the fact that you went to South San, the fact that the way you taught us and the complete opposite. It's like, okay, Mr. Elias, we don't play no games over here. And then it's almost like, actually, Mr. Elias, we're playing this game against Mr. Navarro's class where we're seeing who's the better teacher. It was just, it was nice to see that other side of you and your teaching strategies. And I think they've certainly affected the thousands of kids you've taught here in this community.
You know, one of the things that one of the best compliments I get from my former students that I've taught in my classes, and I hear it very often. They come up and tell me, Mr. Elias, especially after they left my class and going on to high school, Mr. Elias, I never really liked history, social studies, but you made it fun. And I learned more, and now I like it. It's interesting to me. Like, I'm glad. I'm glad, because that's part of my job. I feel, you know, you're supposed to enjoy, you know, learning. You're not supposed to hate it. And if you enjoy it while you're doing it, you're gonna learn it anyway. Whether you want to learn it or not, if you're enjoying it, you're gonna learn it. And that's really one of my philosophies in teaching. If you make it fun for the students, they're going to learn it, you know, without even knowing that they're learning. They're they're taking it in because it's fun for them. And that's why we had those games, those competitions with Mr. Navarro. Mr. Navarro and I, we talked a lot about our philosophies, and we kind of came close in a lot of them. And that's why we do the competition. Because then, you guys were trying to cut each other's throat, man.
Beat the other class.
Yes, yeah. And it was fun, and what were you doing? You were learning,
right,
and you were having fun doing it, So and that's what worked. I mean, that was a combination.
Yeah, I still remember. I mean, oh man, I mean, to this day, there's the famous last words. My only regret for Di is having only but one life to give to my country. Yes. And Nathan Hale, yeah. And I mean, just the British are coming. The U.S. history, just the U.S. history group. Man, I think all that history I learned carried me all the way through high school, and beyond. I mean, it's in college too, in government. But man, those were some times.
But yeah, and teaching to me, I mean, I didn't realize that was what I was gonna really meant to do. I didn't know that I was going to do that, starting out in life. I mean, I didn't know what I was going to do.
Right.
All I knew was I was going to have family at one point. I also knew that people basically just, at that point, people, they were born, they worked, and died. Like the life was just a little cycle.
Right.
Nothing much to it. You're born,
right, just living life by default.
Yes, exactly. And then my life, it's had so many dimensions throughout my life, and I'm still out there. Maybe I guess you could say rediscovering myself, because when I retired, a couple of years after I retired, I started running. Although I ran before in the Marine Corps, and of course in my 30s I ran 10Ks, but when I started running again in 2017, I realized, I can do this. I mean, it's something to keep me busy and stuff. So it's been 7 or 8 years, and I'm still running. And I thought of quitting this year because I thought, well, my bones were getting frail, and I'm not gonna. I don't want to go get hurt out there in the street, fall and break a hip or something. But then I go to my doctor and I tell my doctor, maybe I should stop running. He said, no. How many days a week do you run? I said, about 2 or 3. He said, well, no, run every day. I said,
pick up the pace.
My God, yeah. I said, what are you doing, trying to kill me, dude? He said, no, because your joints get stronger as long as you're not running,
abusing them
to break records. Yeah. And so he said no, and my joints don't even hurt. I've never had any operations or any surgeries on my knees, and my hips are still good. So my body's strong. So I guess I have that to thank, because a lot of people younger than me, they're not anywhere near the condition I'm in.
Right. And myself included. You'd run circles around me, Mr. Elias. Well, Lori's a runner too, right?
Yes. She took up after me because, I mean, I don't know.
She'd run circles over me for sure.
Yeah. But I think the reason I run is because it's something I can do on my own. It gives me the solitude. It gives me the quiet. It gives me the, I'm competing against myself. So I know how to pace myself. So I think it's perfect for a person that just wants to do something for themselves. Because I do it for me. I don't, in some runs I run for my brothers, my brother's birthday. This one's for you or stuff.
Yeah, or the taco run.
Yeah,
the
right.
Tequila run.
No, the cerveza run.
Cerveza run. That's right.
Taco run, margarita run. This last Sunday I did the corazon run. And I got first place like I usually do for my 70 plus, 70 to 99. That's my category. And the other two guys that ran, they walked it, but they're out there still. One is 85, one is 81, and they're still out there. So I'd be ashamed to quit now if they're out there in their 80s.
Yeah, that's true. We're still getting after it.
Yeah, no, it's fun.
Let me do a quick technology check to make sure everything's still behaving.
So we won't have to do it again.
Yeah.
I'll keep going for a little while. Yeah. So.
Um,
It's actually enjoyable sitting here talking, because sometimes we say let's talk, let's go have lunch, and we wind up
yeah, something comes up.
starting a conversation, and then we don't stop.
Right.
We don't finish it, and that's a shame, because I know you and I have a lot to talk about. So many things that we
Connect with.
Yes. I mean, you're a young 60-year-old, and that's a compliment, because
Thank
what
you.
I'm saying is that you're way above your age in what you do, and that's, I mean, maybe sometimes I feel like telling you slow down a bit, because you still got a lot of years ahead. Just pace yourself out there. But no, I can't tell you what, because nobody tells me.
Mr. Liz, you're still going, and every time I call, you're always there to help. But even with the nonprofit, I mean, you were the first. I mean, we'll jump into that here. You were the first person I called to ask to be on the board when thinking about this idea of how we can come back to our schools and motivate the students to choose a career field that they might know anything about, but there's people who've done it before. And I remember when I called you too, you're like, well, I'm in the middle of buying a house, or you maybe you hadn't bought your house but I think you were moving.
Yes, I was moving. Yes.
And and you picked up the call and led the organization. I mean, we started from scratch.
Yes.
We didn't have we'd been doing a little bit of programming that year before in 2015, but in 2016 we didn't know anything about how to file the 1023 form. And man, the amount of times we all met, geez, I mean, I don't think there's a board that would these days that would meet that frequently, right? I mean, plus I think just the timing of everything worked out well. I didn't have kids then, You'd retired for a few years, I think.
Yes, I'd been retired already. Yes.
Aside from scheduling around your traveling, we didn't. You were very accessible and committed, so I'll always remember that. And without you, Building a Purpose wouldn't have gotten as far as it is, or started at all.
I really felt like it was something worthwhile. It was something worth my time, and I wasn't gonna, hold back on that, because I felt that that's exactly what I would preach to you guys. Like I told you, I mean, you'd have to give back to your community. I mean, you have to help the people that, are coming up behind you, and I knew that I was kind of just throwing that at y'all, but I was hoping they would kind of
something would catch.
Yes. And I don't know if it did with you, but you certainly got the idea somewhere.
Well, I mean, so I talked about my time at Dwight with you in the National Junior Honor Society, but then when I went to South San, I started mentoring kids at elementary school through Upward Bound. I remember Miss Bell she would set up a program where we'd go to Kindred, walk across the street. I'd go on my football thing before practice, and I'd talk through a little workshop with CIS and elementary kids at Kindred, and then the Walgreens mentoring program where you and Mr. Tamez were running.
Yes.
You had the experience in mentorship and programs, and I remember I was like, wow, I wasn't in Walgreens while I was at Dwight, but I joined the Walgreens mentoring program while I was at South San, and would go to Dwight, and we would mentor the kids at Dwight.
Yes.
And I remember thinking, man, I just met a software engineer. I just met a doctor. I just met, like, even though they weren't my mentors, they were mentoring other kids. I got to be on that level with them. And I was a high school kid.
Yes.
Coming down mentoring these middle school kids, and these were actually professionals who were mentoring. And so the fact that you organized something like that, I think, and knew the rhythm of how to, from an educational background, knew the rhythm of how to create a structure where where we can get students in and out, and with connecting them with the right people, I thought was very powerful. But what I learned to make better than the Walgreens mentoring program was having the students choose who they want instead of it being
right. You improved on that on that concept
because I remember thinking, man, some of these kids don't want to be here, and then but they would, who in their right mind wants to be there at 6:00 at night, right?
Yes,
especially after a full day of school.
I know.
Middle school age students.
You're already exhausted. Yeah.
But I remember thinking, man, the ones who it happened to line up, like they wanted to be there, and they matched with somebody they were intrigued in. That was just beautiful to see all those connections. The lights go off. Oh, this is what I want to do. And
yes.
And for many kids, that's the first and only time they'll ever get to meet somebody like that. So I remember seeing that, and I wanted to fine tune that and make that happen more. But
and you fine tuned it, like you said, because you knew what, from a student standpoint, what you were looking for, which meant you already knew how to set it up. You just needed to go back with the mechanics of it,
right?
And that's when you started knocking on doors and looking things up, and it
Right.
worked out. It worked. And the thing I keep thinking, the COVID-19 that really kind of
that was tough.
held back a lot of the things in progress, especially
With the
doing the
nonprofit,
purpose. Yes, it got in the way big time, and who's to say what it would have been now? But I mean,
Right.
you really haven't given up. You're still pushing it, and it's
That before COVID, we would ask students if they would like to participate and find a mentor without making them. And we would get about 100 students who would willingly participate. And then during COVID, that dropped off, and we had to learn to be virtual.
right.
So we lost maybe about 80 or 60 or so that would participate. And now coming back after COVID, I'm sad to say, but this past year, last month when we went in there, we've done the same routine, the same talk with the students. Of the 100 and something students who were in that program, only 8 wanted to participate. And so we've got to get creative in how we can motivate them to want to do it.
Yes.
And I still don't want to make a program where we force them to do it, but
No. I mean, they have to want it, because that way they'll know that they want to be a part of it.
Right.
But I feel like maybe we need to explore the support system we have at the high school, because I remember Reggie Serna would be a big
he was a
part
great-
of those
great champion.
kids. Yes,
great champion.
He definitely sold it for us. All we had to do was go in there and finish
Right,
the job,
right.
but he sold it for us.
He did.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think, and that's another parallel, right? Before COVID, it was Reggie who was leading. So I think having the champion, not just at the admin level, but in the classroom.
Yeah,
that's
the
right.
classroom. Yes.
So it's been interesting, but
Yes.
what a journey it's become. This year being the 10th year. Believe that?
I know.
Jeez.
It doesn't seem likely, because I still remember
10th year of programming, right? So when
Yes.
we our first program, we weren't a formed organization.
No, yeah,
We weren't.
we just started. Yeah.
We didn't have our 501c3 recognition. We didn't even have an articles of incorporation with the
Yeah.
state.
Bylaws or nothing. Yeah.
Bylaws.
Mhm.
It's been a ride.
Yeah, and it's it's a credit to you and Judith, because you guys have really held it together. I mean, thick and thin, you guys are always there to, if it stumbles, you pick it right back up, and you keep going. Yeah, it's almost like it's your baby, and you're not about to let it go. Yeah.
No, it sure is.
Yeah.
That's one of the first and biggest projects we worked on together before getting married. So, let's go into a little bit more philosophical questions here.
Oh, yeah, go ahead.
What
Surprise me.
What are some of your strengths?
I've never really thought I had any, because I never really thought of it. Because strength, to me, it's it's too concrete, I guess. But my strength, I guess, if I were to have any, is my ability to go out and help if I'm needed. Which brings us together, of course.
That's our love languages right there.
Yes.
Acts of service.
So yeah, I feel like if something needs to be done and I'm able or willing to take part, I'm not going to sit on the sideline. I can't, because I might miss something. Going back to, I joined the Marine Corps because I didn't want to sit on the sideline. I wanted to be a part of this life.
Right.
I mean, that's why I'm here to live, right?
Right.
We're all here to live. And so you need to take part in life. And that's why I feel like I want to participate in wherever I'm needed, wherever I feel like I need to be. And sometimes it doesn't go well with my wife. She'd rather stay home, and which is fine, because she worked hard all her life, and she deserves to rest and enjoy life now without having to do anything. But I'm built different, and so we're opposite. We're completely opposite on the spectrum, but we're okay with that.
I see so many parallels between you and me and Judith and Miss Elias.
Yeah, and that's how it works sometimes, and that's the way it works better for me, I guess. I don't know, but it's worked great with my wife and I, because she understands that I need to be doing things like this. Like, I help at the church pretty much all the time, whatever I'm able to help in, and she's fine with that because she knows I enjoy it, and she's not going to have me sitting at home miserable doing nothing.
Right.
I mean, it's fine for her, but she knows it's not for me. So basically, and also having worked with kids, I didn't realize that was my calling. But when I started teaching, I felt I was home. I felt that this is where I belong. This is where I need to be. This is where I want to be. So I took it and I ran with it. And I still love to be around kids, young adults, young children. In fact, when I collect the offerings at church, and I always go to this side of the church to where there's a lot of little kids, mainly little, I would say about 7-8-year-old, and they're always going to give their little offering to the basket, and they're smiling, and I can't help but smile right back with them, and it's just like, it's a little connection between them and me, just with a smile.
Right.
And to me, the smile speaks volumes from between people. I mean, so I never, at church, I never frowned because I can't.
Right.
I mean, I'm enjoying it too much, especially when I'm around children, young children, and kids. And so I guess I just enjoy being around kids, and if I'm going to be around kids, I'm going to try and do whatever I can to make them understand how people should be.
Right.
Because I know they see enough ugly stuff out there. And if you can give them a little hope that, not everybody's ugly. There's some people that are still, good people out there that are willing to smile back at you, if nothing else.
Well, it's a simple gesture it's a welcoming gesture that doesn't take a lot,
No.
And as a kid or as a child, there's this inherent sense of authority for those who are older. And I remember being younger, and I remember thinking, wow, all these old people are scary, right? And now that I'm one of the older people, when I've got 3 girls of my own, I don't think the older people are scary, right? And maybe it's just because I'm an older person now, but I feel like they're much more approachable. I mean, I remember being scared of my dad. I remember being scared, just and one of the things, and one of the goals of this podcast is to bridge those gaps in generations. And I love the story of how you just with a smile, you're able to leave that little bit.
Communicate,
right?
You're at the level. I mean,
just with the smile.
The smile, they smile. I mean, and how can you not love a child's smile?
Yeah.
I mean,
so pure,
so
genuine,
so innocent. And I've been to quite a few places around the world, and I can tell you, every child smiles the same. A smile is a smile. It does not have nationality, race, nothing. A smile is a smile.
Right.
And that's one thing that I've learned. If I've learned anything, the world, everybody's the same.
Right.
Because their smile is the same. And that's a universal language.
Right.
The smile that connects.
And Miss Garcia gave you.
Yes.
Right. I mean.
Yes. I mean, she. So I've had two beautiful. Besides my mom, I've had two beautiful women in my life. I married one of them, right?
Mm-hmm.
But the smile to me is just the most beautiful connection you can have with another person.
Right.
And
what is your greatest weakness?
It almost goes back to the opposite of what I was saying earlier. I get involved when maybe I shouldn't, or my wife, I know doesn't like it, but she knows. Like I said, I can't sit in the sidelines.
Mm-hmm.
And every once in a while, I see her, kind of objecting, but very quietly. But sometimes I still do it. Sometimes I back off. But I usually do it. I get involved. But that's really my weakness. I can't stay off the field.
Mm-hmm.
I'd rather be on the field than the sidelines. And I'll tell you a story that I'm not going to name any names. But this is what I'm telling you about getting involved. When I was in high school, we attended a dance, a few friends and I. And it was St. Francis, I'm not sure. I think it was. There was, a lot of guys trying to pick up girls in the dance. Of course, that's what they made them.
St. Francis was all a girls' school.
Yes.
Before it closed.
So they'd have dances and they'd invite whoever, right? So anyway, mainly guys. So we'd go to some of those dances, and this one time, this one guy that was in our group was talking to this girl, and she had a boyfriend outside because they had kicked him out or something.
Oh, okay.
This guy didn't know that. So he approached her, and the girl was kind of maybe playing him or something, but he walked out with her. And guess who shows up right there? Her boyfriend and his friends. So they started in on him. I'm talking beating him up, right? All over the parking lot. And I was kind of like behind. I still hadn't left. So when I walked out, I saw about 6, 7 guys on him. And he was trying to just, run for his life somewhere. And so I intervened. I just automatically ran in there. I thought maybe I'd have some backup as well.
Nobody came for you.
Well, as soon as I showed up, the guys looked at me and they said, "Oh, you want some too?" And they all came at me. And that guy he took off, man.
He left you.
Yeah, I attracted them away from him, and he took off, and I was there left holding the bag. Needless to say, I got up later on a little dusty and stuff. But
Mr. Elias.
yeah, no, it was a learning experience, by the way. But you think that would have taught me to stay out of stuff, right?
Yeah.
But no, it was just. That's what I'm saying. It's just one of those things that I didn't think.
Yeah.
I didn't think things through. I thought, certainly, I'm going to get backed up here. And not even the guy that I saved from getting his butt kicked came to my rescue. But yeah, that's life, I guess.
Yeah.
It's funny.
So getting involved, that's the I guess the lesson you learn, or maybe the lesson is don't talk to St. Francis girls.
All right, you don't know they have boyfriends.
Yeah.
No, but those were fun days. they didn't pull knives or anything on
Yeah,
me.
yeah.
It's just basically hand to hand, and that's that was enough for me to learn a little bit of a lesson. You know?
Well, back in those days, I feel like that was more of a common thing, more man to man or hand to hand. Now it's like, Lord.
Now they resort to, cowardly ways of and even like, shooting places up. Really, I mean, there's kids everywhere, man.
Right.
That's stupid.
Go ahead.
No, I was gonna say something, but no, you go ahead.
I was gonna just start another question, but if you want to finish your thought on.
No, there is a. Well, I'll get to this later because I want to. Maybe we can end it with this particular item that I want to bring up.
Is that the timeline or is it just an
No,
item?
no, it's a poem.
Okay.
It's a poem because I know. Well, go ahead and ask me a question because it might lead up to what I want to do.
Is there a quote you live by?
On cue, see, that's what it was. Yeah, that's actually when I read that. When I think about that, there's so many quotes out there, and there's so many ways that people think that it's really different for pretty much everybody. It depends on how you feel. Like I have different ways of doing things that most people do, of course. But it was there is a poem. There is a poem, and that's what I was referring to. There is a poem that's really altered my life a little bit, or at least changing the way I think about life itself. Because usually, like you say, people live their life, by default, and you don't ever go into too much thinking about what you're going to do and why. So there's this. I did she still teaches this young lady that gave us at Region 20, which is the school support system in this area. Region 20, she gave a class, actually continuing class for like 2 summers, and to anybody that volunteered to do it. And me and another gentleman from South San went to that. It was a grant that she got to do this in history. It was called Gateway to the West or something to that effect. But anyway, she taught us, or she gave a lot of resources and things that we could do in the classroom. She brought in speakers and she fed us lunch every time, and it was fun. It was good stuff. She's real nice lady. Tori, her name is Tori. I forget her last name. But anyway, she gave us this poem when we finished that grant. And the poem is actually, and I'd like to read it. If
Go ahead.
The poem was, I think I gave it to you. Look in the back of it. No, I think I left it at home. It's okay. I almost know it by heart.
Maybe in that one.
But this poem actually talks a lot about life itself and what life should be. So
You want to look it up?
no, that's fine. I'll just paraphrase it because I think it's that's how I remember it. Of course, it's a poem about this person attending a funeral. It's called The Dash. I'm not sure if I've shared it with you before. The Dash by Linda Ellis. It's a very powerful poem that really it spoke to me. So it goes something like this man was at a friend's funeral talking about this man's life or his eulogy. Basically, he was gonna give his eulogy, but he said this is when he was born and this is when he passed away. But that little dash between those years, that's the most significant part of this man, because that was his life. Everything he did was in that little dash, start to finish. So he went on to say that you you're responsible for that dash. Everything you do, people are going to remember you. That's the most important part. That is your life. So you need to take that little dash serious. That little dash represents your whole life, start to finish. So you need to be careful what you do in a way. Again, I'm paraphrasing, because that's how people are going to remember you.
Right.
The things you did between those dates. So it was, and it spoke the truth, because people live their life not realizing that one day people are going to remember if you made a difference in this world, if you made a difference in somebody's life,
Right.
if you did something worthwhile with your life and just not waste it and throw it away. So that to me kind of told me, it makes sense, because you're in this world for a reason. And people are going to remember that. Even if it's just one person, they're still going to know that maybe you did something good for them. And they're going to remember you for that.
Exactly.
So there's so much to that you can make of it as whatever you want. But the main thing is that that's your life, and you need to live it well. And don't worry about fame. Don't worry about fortune. Don't worry about anything that's you're not going to take with you. Because you're not going to take anything with you. Obviously, you're going to. The only thing that people are going to remember is what you did for someone, or what you did for others. And so it's again, I wish I had brought it. I thought I had it, but I was shuffling things around. But no, it's like I said. I mean, it to me, and that's what I guess that's my philosophy. Is as far as ever since I've got to read that poem, it makes sense to me, because if you don't do it, who will? If you don't pay attention to the people that need something, or if you don't do something for someone that needs it, what's your life worth then?
Right.
And especially if you can do it, especially if you're able to do it, especially if you have the means or the ability or the talent to do it. I remember one of the things that the Father Ryan at Divine Providence would say, would always thank us for our time, our talent, and our monetary help, because that's what keeps the church going, obviously. Besides the help and the talent, and that's why I'm so close to that church, because there's so many people that are living that life and they don't even realize that they're living that dash to its fullest. But they're doing it because it's in their heart. And that's the way it should be, I guess. It should be coming from the heart. You shouldn't have to be told to do it or expect to do it. You should do it because you know that's the right thing to do. So that poem is like I said, it kind of changed my the way I look at life, I guess, because it gives me the drive to not sit on the sideline, I guess. It gives me the strength to keep going.
I remember you sharing that poem multiple times, and what a beautiful one it is. What are some of your values, or what are your top? You don't have to list all of them. Maybe just one or two of them.
No. I just sometimes I put things in a basket, but I feel like I need to take care of the people that depend on me. That's my most one of the most important responsibilities I feel anybody can have. You take care, and I tell my wife, and of course my sister-in-law stays with us, and right now one of my daughters is staying with us, and I tell my wife, sometimes I kind of, you get irritated. Sometimes you don't have the privacy you wish you had, but at this point I'm thinking, right now it's my family. It's my family. And as long as they live under my roof, they're my responsibility. And I don't shortchange that. I do what I need to do, whatever I need to do. So I guess my philosophy is very much, being responsible for those around you that depend on you, or that at least are with you at the time. You have to you have to take that serious,
Right.
because again, I keep going back to, if you don't do what's required or what you're responsible for, what good are you for? You need to take that serious.
Right. Yeah, you've something I've always seen in you, that sense of responsibility, and you keep reiterating it, of not sitting on the sideline, but being involved. So that's something a lot of people do these days at every level. Be responsible, right?
Yes. Yeah. That's why we're here for, to be responsible for what's thrown at us. Like some people, I mean, there's a saying, and I forgot to write it down, that it's sometimes we just don't choose our responsibilities as much as we'd like to. Responsibilities are cast on us, whether we want them or not. We don't have the choice. We have to accept whatever responsibility is thrown at us. And that's really something that most adults know. You don't choose your responsibilities. You're cast into them, and you have to deal with them.
Yeah.
So that's another.
What's something or a goal you're pursuing right now?
The way my life is going, I don't take that day for granted. I really don't, because I don't know if God's going to call me one day. When I least expect it. And I've always said, and I've told my wife this. I said, because I've talked to her about, I have things in order, and I'm still fine tuning them if something happens to me. And she doesn't want to hear that, but I tell her, it's okay. I mean,
You got a plan.
Yeah, it's
Part of life.
It's life. It's life. So I don't necessarily fear death. I know it's coming, and if God were to call me up tomorrow, I mean, I'm not going to put up a fight, because I know that that's what His plan is. But up until then, I'm going to try and live my life to its fullest and to my abilities. And that's why I don't take a day for granted. I'm always, and I want to live long enough to where I make sure that my wife is going to be okay, because she's my priorities, in everything. She's my life partner. She was there for me when I needed her and beyond. So my job is to make sure that, I'm there for her as long as I can, and doing it in a healthy way. So I don't, and anybody else for that matter that might need me, because right now people, I mean, some of my family still needs me, and I'm glad that some don't, because it helps me, with the ability to help the ones that do need me.
Right.
So I mainly want to live long enough to be able to make sure things are going to be okay. And right now, at this point, I think they are. But there's always something that you like to do, and travel, and that's another thing. I like to take my wife for another few trips, and just have her enjoy her and I love to take her by myself, because sometimes that's the only privacy we have. The only
that's true.
time away, and we just enjoy just being around each other, just her and me, man. Nobody else to share her with,
Yeah. Yeah. What's sometimes when you go through life, and when you live as long as you have, you grow in your perspectives, and you learn things you didn't know, or maybe something you believed to be true when you were younger. What's something you believed to be true when you were younger, but now in your experiences and age, you've realized it wasn't what you thought it was?
It's kind of a hard to explain, but as I was growing up, all I saw around me was, people, like I said earlier, people are born, they work all their life, and then they die. And that was basically the cycle that I would see constantly. I mean, there was variations to it, of course, but there was a lot of similarities. So I thought, well, life is going to be okay, but doesn't look too exciting. Of course, at my state or my socioeconomic status at the time, I didn't have much to look forward to, because taking vacations and retiring in a good way was somewhere way beyond my reach. I never saw that. I didn't see it for me anyway. But as I grew older and I started, I guess, climbing this ladder a bit, of course, I wouldn't have been able to do it without my wife. Once I started realizing that, life was more than just work and die, there was a whole lot more dimensions to it. So that's when we started taking trips, taking little vacations here and there. Once the kids got out of the house and started, it wasn't right away, but, as things went on, it got better. And we were able to take more and more trips. And so right now, I mean, I can't even think of a place to go anymore, because I've already been to some of the places I wanted to go. There is one place that I plan to go this spring, is probably in May, to Zion National Park, which is up there in southern Utah. And that's a spectacular looking place. I've seen pictures, and I want to very much visit there. Go through Sedona, and just see some. I love that landscape, the red rocks,
beautiful formations.
Yes, the arches and such. So I want to go up there and spend about 4 or 5 days and just enjoy the scenery, and have my wife next to me, and then whatever else comes around. We've been to many places, like I said, New York, Seattle, just, I don't know, Canada, Glacier National Park, it's just Niagara Falls, New York City. I think I said that, but yeah, it's fun to be in different places with somebody that you care to share it with.
Right.
It makes it nice. And I've talked to you about this. It's something very enjoyable, and you enjoy life in the process.
So it was more like going through the process, you thought the life you wanted was just so out of reach, and now as you've grown up, you realize it was just one step at a time.
Yes, and that's actually, it makes more sense, like the way you say it, because when you're young, you don't know where the finish line is going to be or where you're going to end up. Because
there's a lot of anxiety in that too, not knowing,
And you have to. People say if you work hard, you're going to get there. Well, how long does it take? You get a little anxious, you get a little bit impatient because you want it now. But I don't think I could have handled it as well as I'm handling it at this age, because now I know I can enjoy it. Back then, I don't know if I would have enjoyed it as much. So it makes more sense that you wait until you're more mature and able to understand the gift it is, and knowing that a lot of other people are not gonna get to that point, not for any reason of their own. It's because they just won't get there, you know. And it makes you realize how blessed you are at times, how blessed you've become, how blessed you are. So that's why you don't complain about the downturns, because you've been blessed enough already. Don't complain. It's you've gotten more than most, and you better enjoy it and be happy with it.
Did you have a mentor growing up? Somebody you'd consider a mentor?
My mom and dad were my mentors. Of course, they're going to be your mentors all your life. So I always give credit to my dad and he all my dad had to do was teach me one thing.
I love this.
And that was enough. He taught me how to be a man. I mean, he was the example of what a man does. You work however hard you have to take care of your family. He never spoke to me, told me this, gave me lecture, nothing like that. He showed me by example. All my brothers, we talk the same thing. We say the same thing because we all know. No words were needed with my dad. My dad worked his butt off all his life and showed us that's what men do. They work to take care of their family. And that's all we needed to know. And we're all workaholics. We were. I mean, some of them are still out there doing stuff, but we don't shy away from work, man. I don't care what it is. We will do whatever it takes. Mm-hmm. And on the other side, with my mom, I always like to say my mom taught me everything else because she had the wisdom, she had the words, and she had the corporal punishment that we needed sometimes to keep us straight and narrow. But she taught us compassion, she taught us love, she taught us, there is a God. She taught us so many things that I can't even count them all, because everything that, whenever I come to a cross in the roads, like in the classroom with my former teachers, whenever I come across, in the road and I don't know what to do, I always refer back to my mom. And I pray, and I ask Mom for strength. I ask her, because I know she's right there next to Christ, so she's going to help me. And she has. I feel so blessed that she's still on my shoulder, because that's who she was. She was always very caring, very nurturing, and very loving. And so she was my rock for many, many years. And my dad, of course, he had one job and he did it well.
Yeah, I've heard that saying from you so many times, and that's one of my favorite sayings you ever said.
Yeah, that's because it just that's what I know. That's what I know. Mm-hmm. And later on, like I said, teachers were mentors, and sometimes I didn't even know they were mentors, right. Because back then you didn't have a mentor assigned per se.
Sure.
You had to kind of look and pick and choose your mentors just from a distance.
Right,
away.
right.
Yeah.
I think you still do.
Yeah.
So for old time's sake,
yes.
What is what's that saying you always say about your father and your mom?
Gracious.
The one you just said about your dad taught you.
Oh yeah, My dad taught me how to be a man, and my mom taught me everything else. Yes. Yeah. That's bottom line, and that's can't be more simple than that. But it speaks volumes. It speaks volumes. Yeah. And like I said, my brothers we all feel the same way.
Right.
Yeah.
When you were growing up as a kid, did you think you'd be doing the career you had, and now you're retired? But did you ever think you'd go into teaching?
I never really did. I mean, that was the farthest thing from my mind, because I knew, and again, I had a low self-esteem for many years, and but I really wasn't sure. I know I wanted to be a policeman at one point. I wanted to be, I don't know, that's about it. I didn't have much aspirations. I mean, goals and such.
Mm-hmm. Why a policeman?
I don't know. I just felt like
responsibility, maybe.
I felt it was a very honorable job.
Mm-hmm.
The uniform, the authority, so I thought that would have been a good. I never thought of a fireman, but I thought of a policeman. Mm-hmm. In fact, when I went to San Antonio College, I took that law enforcement classes, a couple of them actually, because that's what I wanted to be. And then I found out that they weren't taking anybody shorter than 5'8". That was back then. That was discrimination, height discrimination.
Yeah.
You had to be 5'8" or taller, and of course that ruled me out. I was 5'6", nothing. Mm-hmm. So it was it kind of broke my heart. But I think that's when I decided after that semester to go in the Marine Corps. I said, well, at least I'll go somewhere else where they'll allow me to take a gun and carry a gun, use a gun.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was heartbreaking. And I need to tell you a story about this young man. Going back to the policeman, because I met this guy in one of those classes, I think it was one of those classes. He wasn't a policeman, but he wanted to be one. He was shorter than me, I think. He was in the Navy veteran. So we talked. We got to know each other really well. He was a good guy, real decent guy. So he realized that he wasn't going to be accepted here. At the time, I don't know if it already changed, because this was another class later on in years. So he decided to go to Houston, because they were accepting anybody over there, because Houston was growing big time at that time. This was in the 70s. So he went over there. He became a policeman, and he came back because the next time, because I started driving a bus at the time, via bus. He came back to San Antonio, and the reason I know that is because he became a bus driver. So I said, hey, I thought you went to Houston. He said, no, man. He said, that's a dangerous place. They killed cops over there. I was dangerous. I decided to come to San Antonio and wait my time and apply here. Because at that time, I think the height was, not existent. So he drove a bus for a few months. Then he got accepted at the academy, and he became a police officer. Well, a few years later, he got shot in a domestic violence call.
Jeez.
Right down at Palo Alto neighborhood, by Palo Alto Elementary. His name was Gilbert. I'm not going to tell you his last name for respect for his family. His name was Gilbert. And he was a decent guy. And he got shot over a stupid wife and husband fight. And, Christmas Eve, if I'm not mistaken, in the evening, Christmas Eve. So, that left a hard thing for his family to have to go through. But and the irony and the sad thing is that's why he came back to San Antonio, because he felt like he might get killed in Houston. Yes, and he came back, and it's just it's one of the saddest stories that I've ever witnessed and been known about, because it couldn't happen to a nicer guy, man. He was just a good person all around. In fact, he's remembered fondly by the policemen, the community and such. And he was from the South Side. Yeah.
Jeez,
So,
again, I see these parallels in your stories, Mr. Elias, with a sense of responsibility, and it's one of those jobs that
they're not fun.
Yeah,
especially nowadays.
In that job every day, you're like, you never know what you're walking up into.
Yeah. So it's a job that's it's almost like a calling, because not everybody wants to be out there exposed to gunfire every day, man. It's and I commend those guys. They do put up with a lot, and they go through a lot,
right?
And their families, of course, suffer if something happens.
Right. What's one thing you wish somebody would have told you when you were younger?
It's like I've always been kind of a little impatient here and there. And a lot of times, people don't realize that, you're not going to get there to a certain destination overnight. Sometimes you have to get,
it's a journey.
Get there, in decent time or whatever. Take your time. And that's really what I've realized at this point in life is that the journey is the best part of any trip, because the destination is there. It's going to be there. But the journey, getting there, sometimes is the most fun. And that's what life should be.
Mm-hmm.
Don't be a rush to retire. Don't be in a rush to to earn your first $500,000 or whatever. Don't be a rush to get married, to depend on your age. Don't be a rush to get to the next step, because it's going to get here.
Mm-hmm.
Enjoy your life up until that point. And that's really what, sometimes you tell people that and they're, what are you talking about? But no, it's true, because that's why nowadays I enjoy driving to a destination as opposed to taking a plane. I'll give you an example. When I went to Glacier National Park, that's about 2,000 miles from here. It took me 5 days. I did 400 or 500 miles a day. I stopped at a place that I had chosen ahead of time because I wanted to make sure that that was a place that I could explore and enjoy the scenery.
Mm-hmm.
And so I enjoyed the trip as much as I enjoyed the destination, going to Glacier and coming back. There's so many beautiful places out there in the northern states. The trees, the water, the everything is just, and it's new to us because we don't see that here as much as it.
North.
Yeah, the north has a lot of variations and such. Because first we went through Utah, and then of course the rock formations, and then went through Idaho, Wyoming. Everything that has tourist points and places to see.
Mm-hmm.
And some of those places, it's almost like surreal. Like, am I really here on this mountain pass with all those beautiful, trees, snow-covered stuff? It's just something that you don't see here all the time. Yeah. So yeah, the trip should be as enjoyable as the destination. Yeah.
Well said. What is your purpose in life?
It's basically to make sure that I leave a mark behind. I leave my mark, if nothing more than people's minds. Because, as I said earlier with the dash, you have to make that meaningful. That means you have to make your life meaningful. And if somebody remembers you for even a small little thing you did for them or for somebody, if they remember you for that one thing, you did something that made a difference to somebody.
Mm-hmm.
And that's really what I feel, I hope my life means to somebody here and there. It's not that I want anything for myself. It's just that I want to make sure that I still live in somebody's memory here and there. And I made a little difference for somebody. And that's really my purpose, is to have had a meaningful life and not thrown it away and wasted it. And I know I've made a lot of mistakes. Everybody does, but I know myself. I know my limits, and I know my mistakes, and I'm not going to dwell on them, because you learn from those mistakes.
Right.
And eventually you turn it around and you go the other direction and do something worthwhile.
You certainly have made a mark on my life and Judith's lives, and you've known us since we were kids, and same with my sister, my parents. You've always been family to us.
And that's
you always have a mark on our lives.
I know.
My little girls, Autumn and look at Mr. Elias in the videos, and it takes a little bit of practice to be in their head for them to recognize and call you out by name. And just think about that. So's 3 years old.
Yes. She's going to be here long
75.
after I'm gone. Yes.
Just that, she's, I don't know, it's that right there.
Yeah. And that to me, that means that, like you're saying, it makes more sense, because now I'm going to live long after I'm gone, at least in their little minds, because they'll remember. Hopefully, they'll remember me fondly, with a smile on my face, and that old little man that used to come around and always, play with us and say hello and stuff. Yeah, it's something that that to me would be enough. If it was just them remembered me in 20 years, that'll be enough, because I know that at least I know I did something good, and I was around people's lives that meant something to me.
Right. One of my favorite questions to ask, and I'd always ask my professors in college on the last day, would be, what's been your greatest failure? I've changed it up a little bit. What's been your greatest lesson learned? And when I was in college, I was in my 20s, and I would ask them, what was your greatest lesson learned in your 20s? Was it in 30s, 40s? But just in general, on your whatever context you want to put it in, what has been your greatest lesson learned?
I feel like I didn't appreciate. I'll start with my parents. I didn't appreciate them enough for what they did for me, for what they did for the family, for the sacrifices, the hard work, the lessons they taught us. I feel like I missed an opportunity to hold on to them and tell them, thank you so much. Thank you so much for everything you've done, because there's no way I would have been here without you doing what you did. I mean, you lifted me up. There's a song, actually, Josh Groden, I believe, You Lift Me Up.
Mm-hmm.
And to me, my parents overall lifted us all up to become something better than we could be, because of their faith, their hopes, their prayers, and certainly their hard work. So I just sometimes wish that I could have known that, or at least appreciated it more while they were still here, when I could have just hugged them and tell them, I'm so, so proud to be your son, because you made me who I was, who I became. Mm-hmm. And that's, to me, that's a regret that I've sometimes off and on don't, it's hard to swallow, because they deserve that. And I hope they look down on me now and they know that I'm making them proud. Right. Because that's part of the reason I do what I do, because they're my parents and I'm never going to put them to shame.
Right.
And I hope I never do, because they know that that's not what they taught me.
Right.
It taught me values, work ethic, and, just the love of life. So that's the one thing that comes to mind.
What's one thing you want people in the community to know about you?
Maybe that, when I'm gone, somebody realizes that, I was part of this, I was part of that, I was involved. I got involved. I try to make a difference. And even though sometimes, it wasn't enough, I still tried. And, I just, especially in this community, I mean, this community has been my life for many years, still is. And it will be until I die, because it's a community that's given me so much. I was around good people. I learned a lot from adults, teachers, and such, and I was taken care of as a young child. I was taken care of by teachers, community, whoever was part of my life. They somehow took care of me, and I appreciate that, and I like to think that's why I do what I do, because you gotta pay it forward. Mm-hmm. And that's all we can do to honor their memories and thank them for their efforts. And this community, like I said, it's I've always considered my home.
Right. One of my favorite stories that I've witnessed from you, first person, was when we had an event with Building a Purpose, and Henry Bonilla, former congressman, came, and he spoke to some of the students, and actually he had come to another event as a mentor, and he sat down with some of our students, and I remember he had walked in, and everybody's trying to say hi to former Congressman Bonilla, right? And then for those who don't know, his wife was also a news anchor for many years, Deborah Knapp, and so I remember when he had walked in, there was a custodian outside, and everybody was trying to talk to him, and you walked out to go say hi to the custodian because you had known him or something. And so I always remember that, and afterwards you went and you said hi to Henry, former Congressman Henry Bonilla, and you told him, thanks for coming, supporting the mentors and stuff. And at the first time, I don't know, maybe you've met him before, or you remembered him from back in the day. But the first time you met him, I remember he came in and he graduated, and you told him, because he was talking to all the students, and he was saying, I was the first this and that, and I've met President Bush, I've met President Obama, and I've met President Trump, and actually he was potentially working to be at some position or something, and very, he was talking very, very good, and for the students to have heard his story, I mean, I thought it was powerful because he's a South San grad, and the students to see that I mean, he's met multiple presidents, and I remember you saying, it didn't matter. I can just think of what you were saying. I don't care how many presidents you met, but when you met him, when you told him, you said, you were a freshman when I was a senior. You met, and I'm just thinking you're just saying you met all these presidents, but you were a freshman when I was a senior, and and so that's something that I'll always remember for you. When everybody's flocking to the congressmen and the people who want to be around, Mr. Elias was talking to the custodian who opened the door, and later on when things calm down or whatever position you're in, you still had the ability to talk to a congressman and the ability to talk to a custodian, and you also had the ability to bring that congressman down to a level where we all started in the same hallways and we all put our pants on one leg at a time. So it's something, I don't think I've ever shared that with you, but that's...
I remember telling you or somebody that he was a freshman. He was a scrawny little kid. He was at Dwight when I was in high school. That sort of thing. So but it's everybody, they have their destinies. But like you said, I mean, we're all going in the same direction somehow.
What's one thing you want your family and kids to know about you?
Before I started my family, I had a different life, I guess you could say. I went through different experiences. So when I started or tried to start my family, it was really difficult because, for one thing, I maybe wasn't ready. Another thing, I had too many issues going on. Even though I had my heart in the right place, I still wasn't the person that I should have been. And for that, I think some of my kids hurt. And I feel very responsible for that because I had a part in that. My kids might have had a better life had I been a different person at the time. And I guess I've been working hard to make up for that ever since, when I realized that I had messed up. And I didn't mean to mess up. I wasn't I wasn't sure what I was doing at the time. I guess I don't know. There was so many things going on that I felt that I shortchanged my kids and possibly other people. When I started out with my family, so I regret that more than pretty much anything, because I can't change that. I can't change that now, and I feel like I wish I could, but I can't. So I have to go forward and move forward and try to make up for it, try to correct it, try to go the other direction and be much better than what I was. So it's something that I think about, at times. So I guess that motivates me to become a better father, grandfather, husband. It motivates me because I know that I could have done different. I could have done different. I could have done different. I could have taken things different in a different way at some point. But I mean, it's not like it's not like I really messed up big time. But I think I should have done better. I knew
hindsight's 20.
Yes.
20, right?
Yeah, I should have done better. I knew I should have done. I could have done better, but it's just one of those things that at the time you don't think about. And the one person that I feel brought me out of the darkness was Olga. She's the one that, there's actually a song that I've always think about her. It's called "You Saved My Soul." It's Burton Cummings, but that's what I feel about her doing. She saved my soul because I was going nowhere until she came into my life, and she brought me out of the darkness, and she did, and that's why, how I treat her. She's my queen.
Mm-hmm.
She's my guardian angel. I mean, she's, my angel sent from up above, really, is what she is. And I tell people that. And anybody that I get to know or meet or talk with, I talk to her about her. I talk to them about her because, the conversations go into wife, spouse, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And they get to know Olga before they even meet her personally. So by the time they meet her, they love her already.
Mm-hmm.
They love her.
Yeah.
Because they know of her. They know what she's done. She's done for me. So she's loved by many people. And she's earned it.
Right.
She's earned it. So yeah, it's something that weighs down on me as far as my regret from my early days, but I can't change it. Like you said, it's hindsight, and all I can do is move forward and make life better as much as I can.
Right. These next questions are a little bit morbid, but they're part of life.
Yeah.
Whose death affected you the greatest?
I think my mom, my mom first and my little brother second. My mom, because she was so much to so many of us.
Matriarch.
My mom was she said something, you obeyed her, listened, or did it, So my mom was, when she left, she was ready because she felt like me. She had done as much as she could, although she still would have wanted to stay longer. She knew that, she had already given her all. She was 86, and she had worked really hard all her life. So, I felt an emptiness. I felt like I didn't know we were all going to be scattered to the winds as far as I saw, because she was the glue that held us all together. Her tamales were the best. She would always, that was her gift to us. Every year she would make tamales and we'd all come over Christmas Eve and we'd have a nice family gathering. And we still remember that. My kids, her grandkids all remember that. So, yeah, she left a void big time. I still talk to her. I have a special place that I talk to her. And sometimes I spill my guts because I need to. And she's there. I know she's there. So, as I said, my little brother, even though I was young, he taught me what death was, what death did when he passed away. I'm not sure. Did I share that story earlier with you? Yeah. Pedro Luis, he, I'll never forget my mom kneeling down right there next to the little coffin, in anguish, So my dad was there trying to comfort her, but there was three of us, three boys, and he was holding on to us, trying to comfort us. But obviously he had to be there with us to let her grieve with her baby. So she grieved, and my dad grieved right there next to her, even though he tried to stay strong. And that was my first tragedy, I guess, in life that I met when I met death in my little brother. And it left, I guess, I feel like it kind of changed me. It gave me, even though I was 2.5, 3 years old, I'm not sure, but it left an impression on me because I saw the anguish my parents were going through, and I knew it was something so bad, even though I didn't understand death at the time as much as an adult. I still felt that it was something horrible, something devastating.
Right.
And I saw the result of it. So that also changed me at a young age, and of course my mom at my older age. It was difficult.
Right.
Even though I felt, in a way, I saw it to her before she passed away. I would visit her often. We'd stay with her at night. We kind of took real good care of her the last year or so when she was sick. But, she was still our mom, and she still looked out for us, even though she sometimes couldn't. And the beautiful thing about her leaving is that they told us she was about to expire in the hospital. And I made sure they were saying the rosary for her, and I made sure I was going to hold her hand when she passed out. She went across, and I held her hand for, I think, 2 or 3 hours. I did not let go because she was not going to go across alone. She was going to go with me holding her hand. And that's one comfort that I have, that she went across, but I was holding her hand. She didn't go alone.
Yeah.
And it's a lot of comfort to me. And I did that with my sister, the one that passed away a couple of years before. I did not want her to go alone, and I held her hand. And I held her tight until she was gone out. She crossed. And I don't know what made me do that. I just felt I needed to, because, like I said, I didn't want to be scared. I don't want to be scared. I want them to know that somebody that loves them is holding on to them, so they won't be scared to go alone. So it's a lot of comfort to me when I think back, because maybe that's what I was doing it because I wanted to remember them leaving in a good way and not hurting.
Yeah. If you were to die today, and you only had one person you could call, who would it be?
That's easy, Olga, my wife. Yes.
What would you tell her?
I would first thank her for doing what she did for me. for everything she did for my family, for all of us. And I would tell her that she needs to go on with her life, because I mean, we don't have a choice. That she needs to try and live a happy life, and I know she'll never forget me, but certainly she can move on and know that I had a good life, and I would not change a thing. I would, especially the time I spent with her. So, and it's funny because we've talked about that, and I've told her, if I'm gone, God calls me, I'm good. I'm good. I think if He calls me, it's because I'm done here. I'm done. And if you're still here, just live your life. Enjoy it as much as you can, because I'm going to be okay.
Yeah.
And that's about it.
Yeah, it's tough. If you had a chance to tell your kids something, each of them, what would you tell them?
As I've always thought that I could have done better, I could have been a better father. I would love to explain to them that I understand if they hurt. I understand that I wasn't perfect, but I did my best with what I could. I did all I could at the time. I was learning. I was still not as old as I thought I was. And I was going to make mistakes, and I made mistakes. And even though I regret them, that's something that I won't be able to change. But at least you need to know that I did my best, and I hope they forgive me if they hold anything against me, because I sure didn't intend to hurt them in any way. And I hope that I gave them somewhat of a happy life here and there, because that was my objective, to try and give my family a good life as best as I could, even though sometimes I did fail, and I recognize that, but I sure wasn't intending to do that. And that's pretty much what I would tell all of them. I don't my youngest, of course, I think she feels, that's why she runs races with me. She wants to get closer to me because she knows that my time is limited, at least my healthy years. And she wants to be around me more. And this is the way she's around me, by running with me. She signs us up for races when I hadn't known until she told me, "Oh, Dad, we're going to do a race tomorrow." It's okay. So it's fun with her because she has her own outlook on things, and my other kids, they have their own little different things too that I know how to approach them. And throughout the years, I've learned that. Of course, you have to pay attention, and sometimes I didn't pay attention. But now that I pay attention, I know what they need to hear, because I see it. But overall, I mean, as long as they know that I loved them more than they even realize, and I did my best, and I don't regret a single one of them as far as being in my life. They'll always be my kids. And that's really about it. I know that I just hope that made a little difference in making them good adults. And that's really what my goal was. To make a difference in, like my dad and my mom did for me.
Right.
Yeah.
Do you believe in God? And why?
I do. I've always believed in God, but I guess as you get older, you start understanding He's there, and that you hope to meet Him one day. But I pray a lot. I pray mainly for my kids, for my family, my friends, especially if there's sick people in my circle. And I got a big circle. You know how I am. I mean, you're part of my big circle. And you guys, have a special part in my circle. But yes, I have a big circle of family and friends. And I pray for every one of them. When I go to church, that's when I pray the hardest. Because I know God is there. And I know He'll listen. And the main thing I pray for is for Him to give me the strength and the wisdom to continue to do His work here. And that's the main thing. The wisdom, of course, for my family to do the right thing. And the strength to continue to do what I need to do. And that's my main prayers. And of course, everything else at the time. But yeah, I mean, I do believe in God, and it's sad because some don't. Some people don't, and that's their choice, obviously. But to me, God is comfort. God is comfort to my soul, to my being, and I feel like that's why I keep going. That's how I keep going, because of the strength that I ask and I get.
Right. Well said. Why do you have faith?
Because I've seen faith work. I've seen it so many times. Even though my faith isn't as strong as some people I know, and I told you my church is so many good people, and their faith is strong. Their faith is steady, even though in dire straits, even though in bad situations, their faith is strong, and they totally believe it. And I know I have faith, but I know I don't have the faith that they do. And even though they sometimes aren't doing well, they find happiness somewhere. They find a smile, they find a kind word, they find a way to share with others, even though they might not have much. Those people put me to shame. My parishioners, at Divine Providence, because sometimes I'm thinking I'm doing okay. I'm being a good Samaritan, a good Christian, and they, leave me. They smoke me behind. It's a humbling feeling, because I know that I can sure improve a whole lot more than I realize, and I guess that's what drives me sometimes. And I think it's their faith that gives them that, the faith to know that it's not always going to be bad. They believe, and it's going to come true. Something good is going to happen somewhere along the line, as long as they keep their faith strong. And I'm inspired by that. At the same time that I'm ashamed that I don't measure up anywhere near they do, it inspires me to
be better.
Yeah, to be a better person, because I know I can be.
Has your faith always been strong?
Not as strong as it is nowadays. Not as strong as the last few years. I had faith, but it was almost because I knew it was a good thing. And sometimes it was for convenience. It's just like I said, I had some hardships, in my earlier years that it was just like sometimes I felt, and I'll tell you a story. When I was living in this little house, next door to me was this young couple. And they had everything going on. Both of them were working. They had a nice car. They had a nice house. And they were younger, or around my age maybe. And I thought, why are they doing so good and I'm still struggling? You know, I guess you could say I came close to losing faith. I didn't lose it entirely, but I kind of was starting to give up on it because I felt like I've been a good person. I deserve maybe a better life. And so I don't know what my thought process was back then, but now that I think back, I think it wasn't time yet. It wasn't time. I felt maybe that I had to struggle a while, to hurt, to go through a makeshift or a self-purgatory. I don't know. It was just something that wasn't meant to be just yet, because I don't know if I would have been rewarded back then. I don't know if I wouldn't have thrown it out the window and messed it up. I wasn't ready. Mm-hmm. I think when my life started to change for the positive was when I was ready. And I know that now. I wasn't ready before. And I almost lost faith. But for some reason, I kept hoping and praying and waiting for my turn to have a better life. And God granted me that. So I know there's a God, because He granted me that. But He knew darn well I wasn't ready. So no, you gotta hurt a little bit more. You gotta struggle a little bit more.
Yeah.
You're not ready. You're not quite ready there yet. You know, so it was something that as an older person you start going through things, and I've come to rationalize that.
Right. It helped you appreciate.
Yes. And now that I'm able to do things, I do. I like taking my wife on trips and such, but even beyond that, I do other things. And I'm like you. I mean, you do a lot and you don't speak a word of it. And I don't either, because you don't do that. That's not what you do. I mean, you do things, you do it from the heart, and you just walk away. Mm-hmm. You don't expect anything in return. And that's what I try to do. I try to do things without having to be acknowledged for it. Yes. I don't want acknowledgement if I do something that I feel in my heart it's the right thing to do. Mm-hmm. And that's how I live now, because God finally granted me what He felt I deserved eventually, not right away. And I don't deserve it, but if he granted it to me, then I guess I'm going to appreciate it and be thankful and mm-hmm. share my good life with others. And that's really it. As far as my faith, I have faith. I have faith that's stronger now than it's ever been.
Mm-hmm. What happens after you die?
I believe in heaven. I believe, even though it might not be the way we picture it, the way we imagine it, the way we think of it, I think it's there. And it might not even be any more than a peaceful sanctuary where your soul is at peace and you have love around you, whether it be your relatives or whatever. So I feel like tranquility, I guess I'm trying to say, and resting for everything you've been through, good or bad, and just giving yourself to peace. And obviously it's not given to you for, I don't know, that's one of the things that, it's hard to try and figure out, is there this place and that place? Is there, purgatory? Is there, halfway between? But all we can do here on earth is, of course, to try and be good persons, good people, a good Christian, and a good Christian, obviously, you have compassion, and you treat others as you'd like to be treated yourself, and show, charity and mercy and everything you can do that is acceptable.
Right.
So yeah, and if there is a heaven, which I know it is, there is, I certainly hope that one day I'll be there with a lot of loved ones around me.
Well said. The next part is the timeline segment.
Mm-hmm.
You feel comfortable to share whatever you want, skim through it fast, or you can go through each and however you'd like to share.
Yeah, well, there's a couple of things that, of course, I'm going to just go through a couple of major things that I kind of want to share with you. I've already told you that I was born 1950, Nuevo Laredo, and it was a wild place growing up for me, because the streets were wide open. As young kids, you'd roam around and basically do what you wanted, as long as you didn't hurt anybody. And there was a lot of freedom, I guess. And but there was also a lot of dangers, and there wasn't much to look forward to as far as careers or jobs or making a decent living. So eventually, of course, my parents brought us here, and that's where our life started. And we've been here, of course. This is our home now. This is our home. All my family actually lives here, except for one of my brothers lives in New Braunfels. So we made this our home, and my school, of course, was regular. We talked about that. It was hard going at first, but we fell right into it. It was just one of those things that you adapted, like the learning Spanish. Learning English. All we knew was Spanish. Back then, they didn't have this bilingual stuff. It was sink or swim. They submerged you into the classroom, and you sank or swam. And obviously, we learned because we had to, because otherwise we'd get left behind. So yeah, it was like I said, a lot of years ago. I remember getting in trouble for speaking Spanish. We were in lines and we're going into the classroom. So this Mexicana tattles on me that I spoke Spanish. And then my teacher, who was also Mexicana, punished me. I think to myself back then, I said, wow, that was terrible. We were all Mexicanos and we're punishing each other for being Mexicanos. What's up with that? It's funny, but back then they took it serious.
Yeah.
I had the years. I guess the impactful year was '69. I became. I graduated, went to college, and joined the Marine Corps. And and there's a lot of things that I keep to myself, but I remember I have to share this with you because a lot of things in a war touch you, and some things, of course, you'd like to share, and with a little pain. But this particular incident, that this memory that I have is that one time we were going in a truck. We're driving through a small village outside of Da Nang, and we're going across this big trash pile. I'm talking just junk trash everywhere. And there was kids out there, really just maybe little shorts or underwear, just out there picking up certain things so they could make money or sell. And they were all over this garbage, barefooted, filth everywhere. But they needed to gather things to make money for their family because, that was a war-torn area, obviously. So I happened to catch a glimpse of a little kid. He must have been maybe 2 years old, maybe not even that, walking alongside the trash dump, going up there. Maybe he had a baby sister, a sister brother up there somewhere, but he was walking along the truck, just on the side, along the trash pile. And no, actually, he wasn't even. He was naked. He was plain naked. Just naked. He was walking. All of a sudden, he squatted. He took care of his business, decapitated there. Got back up and just kept going. And I've thought of that often. I thought that is so awful for a child to have to be among this rubble and not, and you could tell it's like a normal thing.
Mm-hmm.
And it hurt my heart to see that, not just that particular situation, but the fact that they were struggling to survive because there wasn't much around for them. There was people fighting all around them. So I came to realize after that, because I didn't realize too many things at that point. I was 19. I came to realize that war hurts the innocent. And I know people know that, but you almost have to see it firsthand to really understand the exact concept of that. War hurts the innocent and the people that don't really know what the war is about. So, beyond that, the women, sometimes they wanted to get whatever they could from the soldiers, from the camps and stuff. And I remember this one woman, she had a couple of babies, and she wanted so bad. She was asking me for, what was it? She said, soap for the baby. Soap for the baby. And I thought, what does she want? I wasn't sure what soap or stuff. She wanted deodorant soap to bathe the babies because they didn't have that apparently. And if they did, it was black market stuff that they couldn't afford. So the simple things were a commodity that was not available to a lot of the people that were caught in between all that stuff. Mm-hmm. And that was just a couple of incidences that I saw firsthand, that really, there was a lot of other stuff going on, but that was something that kind of stood out to me because the bare minimum necessities can't even get, and children can't have a child's life. They have to grow up real fast and find out that life is not very pleasant. Mm-hmm. So it's one of the things that really, and maybe, I sometimes think maybe that's what drew me to work with children. Eventually I got there, but because it's the children that hurt, and if you have the opportunity to do something positive, then it'll possibly make their life a little better in some way. Even though we're not at war here, still there's a lot of things going on at home with children, with kids, and they need an escape. They need somebody to give them a smile and sometimes a hug or a kind word, because they might not get that.
Yeah.
And so maybe that subconsciously, maybe that's what drew me to work with children. That's I felt I had to share that story.
Yeah,
with
again, with the sense of responsibility and what you're seeing out.
Yeah.
War hurting the innocent,
yes.
right? I mean,
yes. Yeah, the big boys, they're in it because they're sent there, they have to be there, they want to be there.
Yeah, well, you weren't, you, like you said, you were only 19. Yeah, your generation of boys becoming men overnight. Yeah, it's a lot of things that you have to kind of, and you don't shake that or
you don't abandon your buddies. I mean, of course you, like that one guy did at high school. You have to be there for them because they're gonna be there for you.
Yeah.
But at least you know what you're in for. These kids, their families are innocent. They don't know what's going on.
No idea.
They don't know where it's
caught
coming.
in the middle.
Yes, exactly. And that's the most horrible thing of war, the innocent, And you see that in every war. In every war you see that. I mean, you see that over at Palestine right now, that those people have gone through hell. And still, they got nothing. I mean, how do you recover from that? How does your life even heal after something like that? And sadly, the people that are able to intervene and do something positive don't understand. They don't understand what they're doing, what they do, what to do.
Right.
They just do whatever their greed tells them to do, I guess. I don't know. It's a topsy-turvy world, man, with so many people that are insensitive. So we'll see what happens with that, though. But it's
yeah,
it's interesting.
So that was all in 69.
70.
70.
Yeah.
Okay. Anything else you want to share in your timeline, or?
It's my I started running again. I don't know if I told you, when I retired, and I kept running, and that to me that's something that I feel a sense of accomplishment for myself. So I don't.
You run a lot.
I enjoy it because, like I said, it gives me solitude. It gives me time to think. It gets me away. It airs my brain a bit. So I've enjoyed it, and I almost quit this year. I was going to just back off, and then I thought I can't do it. Besides the doctor telling me I shouldn't, I thought no, I didn't want to quit anyway. I thought I can still go one more year. So I signed up for 7 runs for this year.
One more year, 7 runs.
Yeah. But I'm going to do more than that because I got one I'm going to wind up doing at least 10.
Yeah.
So it's
well, who knows how many more years of life that's given you, just being that healthy. And I know you just picked it up eight years ago, but you intermittently ran throughout your life,
Yeah, but
how has it extended your health at this point in your life?
Time will tell, but my heart, I work my heart pretty good, so that's cardio. That works your heart, and I'd like to think it's making my heart stronger, because my pulse rate, I told the doctor one time, he said, no, you need to slow down your pace. My heart rate goes up to 175 or so. At my age, that's a little high. There's a formula, your age plus, I don't know, that's supposed to be your target heart rate.
But if you're from South San, it goes a little higher, right?
I guess.
If you're mid-Mexico, a little higher.
Yeah, it's no, but it's and that's because I like to feel healthy, and I've lost a lot of weight too. When I started running, I weighed like 175, and right now I'm at about 150, and sometimes it gets lower. So I've lost at least 25 pounds, and it's staying off. I mean, I try to eat because I want to eat, because I want to gain some of that weight back, and for some reason, my body doesn't want to gain weight. But that's because I guess my metabolism's already in place.
Right.
And I can't overeat even if I wanted to.
Well, that's a good hobby to have and a good problem to have. Many would wish they had that, Mr. Elias.
Well, yeah, the fact that my knees are still holding me, in there, I think it's a blessing.
Yeah, sure is.
Yeah.
Is there anything you're promoting?
Yeah, I've always promoted working with children, obviously, and building a purpose is certainly something that's really close to my heart, because I know that the purpose is there for reaching back and lifting someone up when you know that you can, and this organization does that. It gives you that chance, And having been part of that for this many years, I feel like, again, I enjoy being around children, especially if I can be a part in them deciding maybe what they want to do to be successful. Because I always tell any kid that'll listen, if I can do it, you can. And there's no reason why you can't, because I'm not as smart as most people. But the difference between me and the smart people is that I have to work extra hard, and I don't mind doing it. Because if it takes me longer to get there, I want to be okay, because I'm going to get there.
Mm-hmm.
And everybody has a different way of learning. Everybody has a different style. Everybody has different capacitations, So, yeah, I enjoy sharing things like that with kids.
Right.
Especially sharing my story, knowing darn well I came from nothing. There's a picture there, that first picture that I showed you earlier,
Mm-hmm.
when I'm a little, and it was in my classroom
Mm-hmm.
also that you saw. I used to be ashamed of that picture because I looked raggedy. We were certainly dirt poor, and I was ashamed of that. I was ashamed that, wow, like it was a bad thing. And then I started thinking, wait a minute, that's a red badge of courage there. I mean, that, because it shows that I didn't stay in that plateau,
Mm-hmm.
My parents lifted me, and I then pushed myself and became something. I did something with my life. So I thought, no, that's something to be proud of.
Right.
So when I would share that with my kids, some of them would say, I remember a couple of times, sir, you were ghetto. And at that point, you remember I wore shirt and tie.
Mm-hmm.
I said, you're right. I was ghetto, but I'm not ghetto now. And that was the lesson I was trying to teach them. It doesn't matter where you start or what you have when you start off. It's how you finish, what you make of yourself. That's what matters. Because anybody who has money, I mean, okay, they're going to have an easy life, but where are they going to go from there? Downhill, pretty much.
Right.
But if you have to start from the bottom, you're going to work your way up if you have the determination and the will and the support,
Mm-hmm.
which is where building a purpose comes in. It's support to the kids that might need that little extra.
Yes.
They're getting support from maybe parents and family members, but if somebody from the outside comes in and tells them, you can do this, you just need to work hard and you need to go through the steps, then it becomes solid for them.
Right.
And they know it's doable. So that's where my heart is. It has been since you and I came together and talked about it. But I just enjoy making a difference, I guess, because somebody's got to.
Right.
And I don't think highly of myself for doing it, but I feel like, I do a little thing here and there, and that if it helps here and there, great. If it doesn't, well, I tried. I tried.
Yeah. Well, if you want to follow Building a Purpose, just go to buildingapurpose.com, buildingapurpose.org, sign up to be a mentor or share with students you might know.
A lot of good people working with that organization, so you'd be surprised how many good people there are that want to help children. And
Right.
it's a good invitation. I strongly advise that if you want to get involved, something like this is exactly what you need to do. Make a difference.
Right. Well, Mr. Elias, thank you so much for coming on.
Yes.
We are very blessed to have you in our lives. You are our hometown hero, and every day that we get to share with you is just a blessing.
It's a blessing for me to still be able to be around good people that are trying to be there for others, and that's the way it should be. I think we should all be giving as opposed to just wanting to receive, especially if you can.
Right.
So, I'm glad to be a part of your life as well, Mijo. You've done awesome. You've done outstanding. Being, a student, not necessarily a student in the classroom, but certainly a student at Dwight, you are an example to anybody that wants to succeed. And I honestly and truly believe that.
Thank
So
you.
Keep doing what you're doing.
Thank you. And only because we had you and your generation to pull us up.
Well, we were there for a reason, and I'm glad it worked out for you.
Thank you, Mr. Elias.
Thank you.